Now you're probably thinking, okay Boomer, you're just too old for air ride, and you're probably right. Well, hello my friends, Kevin here, and thanks for watching this video in our Bottom Line series, where we focus on everything about custom lower trucks. And before we start this video, I want to ask for everybody to tap that like button and also subscribe to this channel, because it really helps support us and make more videos in the future. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's continue on with our video and the topic of should you add air ride to a daily driven truck. Chances are, if you're watching this right now, you already know what air ride is and the benefits of it, which include having the ability to drop your truck all the way on the ground for the ultimate shock value, but you can also raise it up off the ground so you can drive it. In my opinion, air ride's a bit better than having a static drop, because if there's an object in the road you need to get around, you can easily raise your truck up on demand and get around that object pretty easily. So as you can see, there's definitely a lot of benefits to having airbags on your truck. But I want to talk about a few things that may actually hinder your experience and give you a better idea on if you should add air ride to your truck. So let's start off by talking about the setup involved with it. For starters, it's a bit pricey to add air ride to your truck. Even if you install everything yourself, you can expect to pay a few $1,000s in parts alone. Keep in mind, you're going to have to purchase a ton of components, including the airbags themselves, mounting brackets, and suspension components in most cases. On top of that, you're going to have a running air system on your truck. So you'll need compressors to supply that air, tanks to hold that air so you have a reserve, and you're going to need valves so that you control or regulate how much air goes into your airbags. You control that with a controller and probably visualize it with a set of gauges. And so as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in the system alone, and this is just a basic setup. You can go even more complicated than that. These days we are a bit fortunate, as the aftermarket has kept up a bit with meeting our demands on adding air ride to trucks. They make kits that are so easy that anybody with a little know-how can add one in either the driveway or their garage. It's just that easy. Though, do keep in mind that these kits are normally designed for Chevys and Fords, the more popular vehicles. Other vehicles that are less common, like Dodges and Toyotas, you may have to fabricate something because there probably isn't any kit for your vehicle. Even though there's a number of kits that help you add airbags to your truck, you still have to modify them a bit to get them on the ground. Making it even more difficult, it's very popular to combine air ride with huge wheels so that you can lay your truck out and tuck big wheels. For example, we added a set of 20s all the way around on my S10, and we had to do a lot of modifications up front, including having to cut the box for the fan of the AC system. And I can tell you that afterwards, the AC was never the same. It only kept it cool enough so it wasn't boiling inside the cab on a hot summer day. So yeah, take it from me, there's a lot to think about when adding big wheels and combining it with air ride and all that stuff. I mean, I guess I could have scrapped the whole system and put an aftermarket system in there, but that came at an added cost and install that I just didn't want to do. Though there are a number of builders out there with enough talent to successfully add air ride to vehicles, they weren't originally designed to do what we want them to do. So given that, there can be a lot of complications that come along with it. And honestly, I think the OE equipment on these vehicles is actually the best, as well-paid, highly intelligent people perfect every little bit on these vehicles. Though I will say that the aftermarket is catching up to the OEs, it's definitely not the same. So once you've modified your truck to lay out over a set of big wheels, there's other things you got to consider, like monitoring the height from inside the cab. Now, in the past, we would use old school switches and use a set of gauges to regulate how high the vehicle was. But in these days, we've got companies like AccuAir and Airlift that actually have management systems that you can buy, and they easily regulate all of that for you. Basically, you set your truck at different heights, you program that into your controller, and all you do is simply press a button and you get that height that you were desired. Now, do keep in mind that these systems are complicated, have a lot more components, and they also come at steeper prices. I've definitely experienced my fair share of problems with air ride in the past, including compressors that have failed on me, where basically I had to pretty much drag my truck to a shop in order for it to get repaired. Another issue I had one time was that compressors pull so much juice out of a truck that my truck wanted to die at one point when it was idling, and you know, being in a parking lot, revving it up, just so it can build up air. It's pretty annoying, especially, it's a little more noisy and people start staring at you, just wondering what the hell you're doing. So yeah, it can be a little confusing, frustrating, and annoying at the same time. And this even happened to me one time. I was on the road. I needed to get some air in the truck, and I was in traffic, so it wasn't revving up high enough. And basically, it was going to die on me, so I had to pull off on the side of the road, and then it did die, and then I had to call for assistance, and then wait for it to get enough juice, and so they can build up that air. And this was just super frustrating and embarrassing at the same time. I've had a number of other issues, including air leaks, as well as parts that just go bad over time. I did keep up the maintenance on this truck, and I highly suggest doing that, every month or so, taking a look at everything to make sure everything's good. And when you do that, you kind of assure yourself that you're going to be driving a safe vehicle at that point. But I remember this one time I made it home, and for some reason, I don't know why, I just looked under the truck. There was nothing wrong from the drivability of the truck, but once I looked at it, I noticed that there was a bag that was on the brink of failure. And luckily I was home, so I was able to repair it, and I wasn't in a situation where I was driving it and it wouldn't get up off the ground. So as you can tell, I had a lot of experiences with things going wrong with my truck, including those compressors. I also had valves that would go bad. Every once in a while they wouldn't work. But a lot of it was due to the fact that there was water in my system. It's very common for condensation to build up in that air system. And what a lot of guys do to prevent that is they put a set of water traps in there, and basically collects it in one space. You can drain that out, and you're supposed to drain those daily. You're supposed to air out the whole entire system on a daily basis, but let's be honest, that's a pain in the you-know-what. If you find yourself in a situation where you have some issues with air ride, check out our previous video where we talk about finding and fixing problems with air ride. You can check that out by clicking the link in the description below. Above everything else I've already talked about, you got to deal with air ride on a daily basis if it's on your daily driven vehicle. Now, what I'm talking about here is I used to drive my truck completely slammed, on the road. So I was always adjusting the system when I came across things like speed bumps and going through driveways. So it's a lot to contend with on a daily basis. Because of all this, I have to admit that air ride on a daily driven vehicle is not for me. Now, you're probably thinking, I'm just too old for air ride, and you're probably right. I've come to figure out the older that I get, the less patience I have for things that get in the way of me enjoying my life. And one of those things is air ride. Do keep in mind, I am a bit jaded though. My truck was built 2 decades ago when things were a bit more difficult. If I had to relive my life knowing what I know now and having to do it all over again, I probably still would have airbagged my truck like I did back in the day. I've had so many good experiences with it, and I've met so many cool people along the process, and along my journey and everything that I've done. And that wouldn't have changed. And those doors probably wouldn't have opened if I didn't modify my truck. Here's the thing, it may seem like I'm being negative on air ride as I'm describing all these issues that can happen, but the truth is, if you don't mind having to deal with these things and you want to have a vehicle like that, by all means, build the baddest truck you can and leave your mark in the scene. With that being said, you do you. I just wanted to tell my side of things and share with you my experiences with air ride, as I know it can be hard to get opinions from a truck enthusiast who's been around the block a few times. I know that if you're new to things, you're not in the scene, you probably don't have friends that have experience with airbag vehicles, and you probably would turn to shops or companies that sell parts, and basically these guys are going to diminish any negative issues and won't really give you the honest truth about it. In the end, I would say that adding air ride to a vehicle makes for the ultimate in shock value, as most people don't understand why somebody would take a perfectly good running vehicle and cut it up simply so it could be on the ground. And many others can't even fathom how a vehicle on the ground can drive, get over speed bumps and whatnot, and it completely blows their minds. And honestly, that makes it all worthwhile. If you watch this video and decide that air ride's not for you, or it's just plain out too expensive, check out our previous video on cheap and free lowering. We'll drop the link to that in the description. Well, my friends, that just about does it for this video, and it's time for me to sign off. But before I go, I want to ask everybody to like this video, as it helps us produce more in the future. If you have anything else to say, drop that stuff in the comments section below. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.